Hello, everybody. We are here again. It's a pleasure for me and a huge honor to present you Idoia Martí, who is data science lead at All Women. Idoia is a chemist with a PhD in chemometrics, and right now she's the data science lead at All Women, an institution which purpose is to build the next generation of female tech leaders. Among her tasks, Idoia is the instructor and coordinator of the data science courses, including data analytics, machine learning, and NLP. She specialized in analyzing and creating machine learning models coming from chemical data. Her passion for data and her success translating insights into actions make Idoia a gift science prodigy. She uses her abilities to build a better world and fight against the gender gap in STEM field. Hello, Idoia. Thanks again for being here today as a speaker of the International FemHack. I pass you the mic.
Okay, amazing. So thanks for these beautiful introductions and thanks also for inviting not only me, but also all women to this wonderful event. Congratulations, first of all, on that. So, well, welcome everybody and nice to meet you. Well, I cannot see your faces, but nice to meet you. I'm going to start sharing the screen just to start with some slides and introducing what I'm going to, let's say, talk about it. So let me start sharing the screen.
Perfect.
Let me know if you can see my screen. You should. Yes.
I confirm. I confirm. Yes. I can see your screen. Everybody can see it.
Okay, amazing. So this is the title of my topic or the presentation. So it's called Gender Gap in Tech Through Data. So first of all, let me introduce a little bit myself. Well, Noelia did it in a super nice way, but just for the audience, this is me. I'm Idoia, the data science lead at All Women, but also I'm one of the instructors of the data science and data analytics courses that we have here at All Women. And well, just for your information, I'm a chemist, so this is my background. So I'm qualified. Well, I normally tend to say to myself that I'm a non-conventional chemist because I'm not doing the typical chemical things that I was learning, let's say, in my chemistry degree. And also, I don't know if you have any friends that it's a chemist, but for sure that he or she is not programming or doing a lot of different things linked to data and so on, okay? So, well, as a chemist, my first inspirational women that I had that were the ones that I was including in the slides. I had, let's say, the opportunity to include myself in the middle, although I'm not, let's say, as top as they are, but well, it's nice to see myself surrounded by these beautiful women. So on the one hand, we have Marie Curie. I believe that all of you know Marie Curie, her knowledge and her history. And on the other hand, we have Rosalind Franklin. For the ones that's another pioneer, chemical pioneer woman that it's really an inspiration. So for the ones that maybe you don't know who is that woman, I encourage you to look on the net and check what she did, let's say, for the scientific and woman community. Okay, so let's move a little bit into something a little bit more techy, So let's talk a little bit about numbers. Okay, we know that only 1 in 4 students in STEM, so engineering, mathematics, etc., courses or science, are women. No, that's one fact that we know. And also we know that also if we are moving from not only academia, we are moving into the private sector, so companies and so on, we know that also this amount of workers that have a gender that is a female gender in the tech field is relatively low, no? So we have only 1 in 5 of these, let's say, people that are working in this tech field, no? And that's one thing that me working as a data scientist in different companies, not all women, but on the previous one, I was able to see that most of my colleagues were men, okay? So that's one thing that, well, I was able to see it, no? And we know that, okay, according to those numbers, according to not only my personal experience and so on, we know that there is a lot of potential in women there, okay? Because, well, we need to fill those numbers and we need to establish a balance, no, in these specific fields. So to do so, All Women, which is a company in which I'm working now, basically what we are doing is, well, it's an academy that offers different courses regarding the tech community. And basically in this academy, one of the essence that we have is that, well, it's an academy for women by women. What does it mean? That, okay, all of our students are women, and also all the different instructors, career advisors, and all the different people that are involved in this like path are like women. Why? Because I really believe that in most of the cases there are like missing powerful women roles, let's say, in the society, or at least they are not projected as they should be. Okay, so basically what we are doing is, first of all, creating this environment that allows them, you know, to empower a lot, surrounded by beautiful and powerful women, but also to have these references, these powerful women, let's say, as a reference, which will be the instructors, the different speakers, and so on. Okay, because it's one thing that I believe that it's kind of missing in our society, okay? So basically, among the different courses that we are offering, all of them are like tech courses, and we are offering some of them that are linked to web development, product management, everything linked to the UX and UI content, but also data science and data analytics, okay? And one of the most beautiful things about, giving these courses, especially the ones that I'm doing that are the data science ones, is that most of the students are coming from a non-technical background. So, and in the end, basically they are finally working as a data analyst, as a data scientist, etc. Okay, so I would say that, well, one of the cool things about that is that, well, this career shift sometimes takes place considering, well, backgrounds that are non-technical. Okay, so I believe that everybody can, let's say, do the career shift if you truly believe that you can do it. I did it. I come from a chemical background. I didn't know anything about programming, about, let's say, data when I finished my degree. Okay. So another thing that I wanted to say is that, okay, all women, well, basically what we are doing is like offering these courses to the women community, but also all women is something more. Also, all women is a community of people, okay? So it's not like the typical university degree or master degree that maybe you might be, or you did, let's say, some years ago, or you are currently doing, no? That is like, okay, I'm finishing the classes, I'm going home, and let's forget about everything. No. So here we have a community, okay? And here what I'm giving, or what I did, is to include some numbers that let's say that define us, okay? So it's a community of more than 30K female members. So that means that people at different stages from different backgrounds, okay? So it could be people that did the courses, people that did not, people that are just supporting instructors, etc. We have a lot of tech events that we are offering every week. So I encourage you to check our social media and also our websites, etc., just to, let's say, show you, well, there are a lot of different events that are really interesting, all of them led by different women and different professionals. Also, we have a lot of like different women that we managed to upskill in tech, not only, let's say, do a drastic career shift, but also some people that wanted to upskill themselves, no? For instance, talking about data, no? Some people that it's like, okay, I'm working with Excel, I'm a business analyst, I'm working with Excel, but I want to upskill myself because, working with Excel is an excellent tool, but sometimes you get stuck, when you are dealing with really big data. So they want to upskill themselves. That's why sometimes they are enrolling and they are joining us in order to upskill them. And also in terms of a student rate, well, we have a really good number, average speaking, considering all the different, let's say, all the different courses, okay? And that's one path that, well, you are not alone, let's say. So you have also career advisors and a lot of people that are, let's say, surrounding you in all the process that is included in this path, okay? So, but let's go after introducing, let's say, what do we do at All Women, which are our essentials and so on. Well, I wanted to introduce, or let's say, I wanted to ask one question, let's say, to the attendees. So, gender gap, what do you think? Myth or reality? So I want to see your answers, let's say, in the chat. I'm not able to see let's say, the different answers from the different people, but I believe that maybe Noelia can help me in that. Yeah. So what's your opinion? Myth or reality?
I encourage you guys on chat, on Twitch, to ask to this answer. And now my colleague Maria will provide me with the general opinion.
Yes. So myth or reality, thumbs up or thumbs down? I have my answer already, but I want to see yours, to make it a little bit more interactive, not only, me talking and so on.
I can say, Idoia, that almost everybody agrees that it's not a myth, that unfortunately it's a reality.
Yes, that's one of the one of the pity, and it's so sad to talk about this topic, but it's important to talk about it, So just for curiosity, what I did before, let's say, creating this talk, what I did is I was like doing some research to like different newspapers, such as, I don't know, Forbes, New York Times, the BBC, the Guardian, so some really like cool newspapers. And I was able to see that they were talking about, gender gap, some of them on 2021, March, October, and so on. And one of the things that it's not something local, that maybe, Barcelona's council is talking about, So also big companies or big newspaper companies, let's say, they are talking about it, okay? Most of them, they are like, are we really closing the gender gap? The gender gap won't close. All of them are showing this kind of, like pessimistic or really negative, So it's like there is gender gap as well, in terms of not only like professions, but also in terms of salaries, right? But my question here, maybe it's because I'm coming from a maybe analytical mindset or a data mindset. Always my question was like, okay, I can see that you are talking about this one and blah, 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 and so on, but you are a journalist and you are not showing me, let's say, the sources, the data source. So where did you get that information from? Sometimes, at least in my personal opinion or from my personal, point of view or experience, it's super difficult to find, the information that it's kind of impacting the society. You know what I mean? So that's why what I was doing is like, okay, I'm going to prepare, let's say, and I'm going to try to, sorry about that. So you have the links about that. So I'm going to try to answer those questions with real data and Python. So this speech or this talk that I'm going to talk about, it's not only data and so on. I'm going to show you with one mini example or mini code how we can retrieve or how can we answer those questions with some real data, okay? So to do so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one, let's say, code that I already gave, that it's made in Jupyter. Which Jupyter is, well, it's in Python, but Jupyter is one of the user interfaces, let's say, that we can use to work with Python, okay? It's why Jupyter and another one, because, well, Jupyter is pretty visual and pretty didactic, etc., okay? So normally we tend, well, in our classes, we tend to use Jupyter because it's super friendly and it allows you to create markdowns, code in a super easy way. You embed images and so on. So I believe that in terms of, showing the results or explaining something, it's pretty nice, okay? So here is where my journey started. Find some data linked to gender gap, including maybe salary, okay? And here is where, unfortunately, I got super lost. So I was able to see like some pieces of information from different countries regarding European Union and so on, but the information was not like good enough, in my opinion, in order, to extract some really powerful information. So one of the things that I came about is with one, let's say, website that it's called Bureau Labor of Statistics. It comes from the States. So people from the States, they are sharing everything, So they have its advantages, disadvantages as any country, let's say. But one of the coolest things that we can, let's say, have, or we can say, talking about the States, is that they are sharing everything. So basically, what I did is find out this website with the data set and so on, in which basically what I was able to see is, well, some data set containing information regarding different occupations. So all workers from the States, let's say, divided into different occupation like fields. Also, the total amount of people, the total number of, well, the salary that they were earning per week, because remember that in the States it works per week, this kind of like things, at least in the data set that they were giving us, the total amount of female workers, male workers, and also the median salary, let's say, per week, considering both gender, okay? So that's one of the cool things that I found that and I was like, okay, now it's my time. Now I can, let's say, analyze and I can see, or I will try to answer those questions with some real data. Of course, it comes from the States, but okay, we can, we can kind of link it with it, okay? So this is what I'm going to do. So first of all, I'm going to, let's say, show you how we can analyze and which are like the different strategies. I'm going to import the data, that one that I was, let's say, extracted from this website. And if we have a look at the, let's say, head method, which is the top 5, this is what we can see. So this is my data set that comes from this file in our space, okay, in our Jupyter space. And basically, what can we see? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns. And, well, this is the name of the different columns together with, well, the information that we have in each of the different aspects. So we have, for instance, for row 1, we have that, well, all the information linked to that specific field, which is management. This is the amount of workers, the amount of female workers, the income, let's say, per week, the median one for the females, and the same information for the males. Okay, so this is the data set that we are going to obtain. I took that one from 2021. Okay, so it's a pretty fresh one. Okay, because we are on the 21st of January, so it's a pretty nice one and pretty interesting one. Okay, before moving on into the analysis, there are a couple of things that we need to, let's say, check, no, here. Okay, so on the one hand, which are like how many entries, how many rows, how many different professions and do I have, okay? And how many columns do I have? So one of the things that we can do is once we have this data set, we can extract one attribute or one property that it's called, okay? So this property, this attribute is called shape, and it's going to give us the shape, no? So which is the size. So according to that outcome, we have 20 different professions and 6 columns, okay? More things that maybe the ones that are more familiar with data or have worked with data can be, let's say, really familiar, or it can ring a bell with them. Missing values, okay? So every time that we have some information that it's, well, not filled with something, it turns into a none, so not a number. So that's one of the things that we always have to take care of it. Why? Because dealing with nuns, it means that we don't have that information, right? So one thing that you can do is like, okay, do I have missing values? So to do so, what I'm going to do is to sum the null values that I have in my data frame. And as an outcome, what I'm getting is a mini table that it contains, let's say, on the left side, all the different, let's say, name of the columns, together with some numbers that stand for the total number of missing values, okay? So in that case, all the different numbers are, well, all the numbers that we have in this second column is 0, so that means that all the data is filled with information. So that's always a really, really good point, okay? So once we manage to see this mini data cleaning or EDA, one of the things that we need to move further is into meet the data, okay? So we need to start asking some questions to our data set, okay? So first question that we can, let's say, ask to the data. So the duplicates, okay? Do I have duplicates? I have 20 different occupations, but maybe it could be the case that all of them are duplicated. So it doesn't make sense, to continue the analysis. So to do so, what we need to do is to sum the duplicates that we have in our data frame. And if we are executing that statement, as an outcome, we are getting a 0. So that means that we don't have any duplicate. That means that all the different entries that we have in terms of rows are unique, different. So they contain different information. So that's pretty cool. More questions that we can ask, okay? In terms of occupations, okay, how many different occupations can we find? Which are like the different occupations that I can see? So one of the strategies or one of the methods that we can use is one that it's called unique, that basically what it shows us is the unique categories that we have in occupation variable that comes from this data frame, okay? So if we are executing that statement, what we are getting is that amount of info. So we are getting, as an outcome, some information that is linked to each of the different occupations that we have. So we have management, business, software engineering, and so on, okay? So those are like the different occupations that I have, okay? If for whatever reason we want to count them and we want to see, okay, how many different occupations do I have? Okay, of course, we can do like 1, 2, 3, and so on, but this is not really professional, right? In order to make it a little bit more professional and be a little bit more cool, we can use one method that it's called nUnique, that it counts the unique categories that we have here. So it counts and it gives you automatically one number that stands for the total number of, let's say, unique categories that we have. So in that case, we have that this number is 20, so that tells us that we have 20 different professions or occupations, okay? We can also extract the name of the columns. That's one thing that we already saw here, and this is the information that we have. Okay, we can continue this, let's say, meet the data, asking questions forever. Okay, this type of task can last like months, years, forever. You know, you can do a lot of different things, but in order not to extend, let's say, my speech, what I'm going to do is to move directly to the part in which we are going to explore specifically this wage gap, okay? And storytelling and how we can transform everything into really powerful plots, okay? So the wage gap, okay, we know that we have the amount, well, the income for males and the income, let's say, for females. So one of the things that we can do is like extract the female ones to the male ones, okay, and get one number. So if that number is close to 0, that means that, well, they are like both sharing something, well, similar in a similar way, okay? So let's create this new variable that I'm going to call it data. And this is the information that we have here. This is the new one, okay? Rather than working males, females, I'm going to like unify everything and create that, okay? So according to that formula, okay, this is one really simple subtraction. So if females in one profession are earning more, that means that I'm going to get a negative value, right? Because if that number is higher than that one, I'm going to get negative value, right? So let's check whether in any of these occupations, the women are earning more just by executing that statement. And unfortunately, what we have is that no, okay? Surprising? No. That means that in all the occupations, males or men are like earning more per week. All of them. None of them has shown us a value like negative. Okay, so that means that there is gender gap, there is a wage gap here. Okay. So this is just the information, okay? But let's do some storytelling because it's important, you know, to impress the audience. It's important not only to code like crazy and, you know, extract powerful things and so on, but also to transform and be able to transform those numbers and this intelligence and this, you know, thing that you have, let's say, in terms of programming and so on, into something that it's understandable for everybody, you know, for a client, for your little brother, for your mom, your aunt, whatever, etc. So one of the things that we can do is like, okay, get that information of the gap, let's say, and extract just the occupation, but and also, let's say, the gap, and, you know, get that information sorted in a kind of descending way to see, you know, which are like the occupations in which this gap, the salary gap is higher than it is higher, let's say. So this is the outcome that we are getting in terms of like coding, okay? We have that legal, this is the gap, 1,023 per week in difference. Management, 400, healthcare services, 300, and so on, okay? This is super nice, but let's transform this outcome, this sad outcome, unfortunately, into a plot. One of the plots that we can use is one that is called a funnel plot, okay? This is one plot pretty used, let's say, by marketers, and basically what they are doing is like it has the shape of a kind of a funnel. So that means that, well, the ones that are more present, let's say, are like display or shown a bar that it's wider than the ones that are not really present. So this is our, let's say, our plot, and basically this is what we are getting. We are getting the first one, legal, the same information that we have, but can you see that it's more like powerful in that case? Why? Can you see this big difference between the first value and the rest of the value? Here, the differences are kind of like super close to each other. No, they are like different as well, but that one is super impressive, okay? Remember that this is per week. That means that if we are considering a month, we need to multiply that value by 4. So super impressive, okay? and sad. So let's do the same, but the ones that are the more equal. So the ones in which that value is, let's say, closer to 0. No, 0, it's not the case, or -2. So if we are also creating this funnel plot, this is what we are getting, okay, in terms of, let's say, professions or occupations in which this, let's say, difference in terms of salary is smaller. So we have the culinary one, primary sector, office, construction, building, transportation, productions, okay? So those are like the salaries that are, let's say, that in which the wage gap is smaller. Okay. Okay. So far we've seen that, okay, we have a lot of, let's say, differences, all of them, let's say, some of them really, really, really high. But let's see, no, because for instance, here we can see that, I don't know, maybe somebody might be thinking that, okay, construction, but maybe it's a really male-dominated profession, no? We normally, when we think about construction, we normally tend to think to the different people that are building houses and so on, right? So let's zoom in into the positions or into the different occupations which we can find more women. So to do so, what we are going to do is sort the values that we have in the column that it's called F workers and sort them in a descending way, okay? And this is what we are getting. On the one hand, management is the one that has more females, followed by office, healthcare, and so on. So here we can show the results in this beautiful table or create bar plots, okay? Create another type of plots, okay? These bar plots, basically what we have is like, okay, the bar is proportional to the amount or the value that we have, okay? Can you see that here, for instance, Oceania, it has a higher bar rather than Africa, for instance, that it has a smaller one when we are talking about this variable that is called life expectancy. So let's do the same, but here using our data set, okay, our professions. And sorry about that. And this is what we are getting. So we are getting the first bar, super impressed, that it's management, super far from the rest, okay? The question, and well, this is what we are getting, that it's super far. We can also check the ones that are on the bottom one, so the ones in which we have less female workers, and create the plot directly, and this is what we are getting. So industrial maintenance, followed by primary sector, construction, engineering, science. Can we see that here engineering is already there, also software, okay? The point is that here we have also some numbers, right? But we don't have the proportion, right? So it doesn't make sense, you know, to just analyze that information, because do you know a lot of women that are working in management? The only thing that we have to do is divide this value, let's say, by the total amount of workers that we have, okay? So this is what we are going to do here. For each of the different professions, we are going to divide the total number of workers that are like female by the total one, and calculating a new variable that is called F ratio. So if we are like getting that number, that means that, well, if that number is, let's say, close to 50%, that means that the occupation will be more equal, okay? We are not talking here about salary, we are talking about occupation rate, okay, in terms of equality. And this is what we are getting, okay? So here we have this new variable, so we are going to create the same plot, but in that case, using that variable that is called F ratio, okay? So first of all, let me sort, let's say, the information considering the different like female ratios. So starting for the ones that are like have more women, let's say, on it, and let me also transform this table, this frequency table that it's called, into a plot, okay? So here the situation changes kind of a little bit, right? We can see that 74% of the people that are working in healthcare services are women, followed by the 73% in education, personal care, and so on. Can you see how different the results is? Okay, we still have management here that it's on 50-something%. So that means that there are like some women that are like, well, that it's kind of a really equity profession, I would say, okay, but we still have that value. But the ones that in fact they have a higher proportion of women are some different ones, okay? And for me, having a look at those let's say, numbers, what it really surprised me is the legal one, okay? So the legal, I don't know if you remember, but in terms of like wage gap, salary gap, it was 1,000 per week. And it's kind of super surprising because we have, let's say, kind of a really similar percentage, or even we have more women working on it. Okay, so that's super, super unfair because in my opinion, it could be, okay, there is a wage gap because maybe, I don't know, there are like just 2 women working there and they are like kind of starting to work on it and, you know, stand up for the rights and so on. But no, here it's something really, really surprising and really, really, in my opinion, sad. Okay. Let's repeat the same procedure, but in that case, the ones with less female. Okay, so, but in terms of percentage, in that case, so here we can see that, well, we have the construction, so just 3% of the like workers there are female, followed by industrial maintenance, and we have the famous 15% linked to engineering and so on, the famous one that everybody uses everywhere, no, but it's kind of similar. We have transportation, production, but we have also software and so on. Okay, so the point is that can we link the, you know, what I was telling you, know, that maybe the ones with a small percentage representation in women, can we link it maybe to the wage gap? Okay, so if we check on it, we can see that, okay, construction, building maintenance, okay, those are like some sectors in which you don't have so many women, and also, you know, the gap is kind of smaller because, well, this is what it is. Okay, so the question here is like, why there are like so few women? Why the representation of, you know, women in tech fields is super small? Okay, maybe it's because of the salary gap, maybe it's because something happened there, or maybe because we were told, like when we were super small, that we were not good at maths, no? So no, you are a woman, you have to take care of something, right? So that means that you are not good at maths. So one of the questions, I know the answer. I know that everybody can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter the gender, let's say. But in order to show you with real data, what I was doing is getting some data or some of the results from the program for international student assessment. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. It's the PISA one. So basically, it's one. Let's say there are like some tests that they are doing to 15-year-old school pupils, considering both genders, so like boy and girls, and basically they are like doing those tests and so on, and they are getting different results in mathematics, science, and reading. Okay, another one. So basically, what I was doing is getting that information from the PISA score, and this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to import that information from the PISA website, and this is what I was getting. Okay, so I was getting a kind of summary about, let's say, the different scores, the mean score for maths, and also for science, considering different subjects, boy and girl, in function of different years. This is the value that I was getting on different countries. Okay, so not only focusing the attention on Europe, etc. So we can, let's say, once we've managed to import it, we can check, let's say, the shape that we have. So how many entries do we have? So 862 and 8 columns, repeating the missing values. So do we have missing values? Because it's important in that case, we don't have missing values. So that's pretty cool. The duplicates, remember that it's important to get rid of the duplicates, because otherwise maybe our metrics are going to be not significant. We don't have duplicates, and also if we are checking the number or the type of indicators or like tests, we have the math one and the science one. Okay, so let's start with the math results. So what I was doing is like, you know, saving the information coming from the maths scores in that specific variable that's called maths. Okay, so basically we have the subject that contains information regarding the sex or the gender. So let's check whether we have like similar information regarding boys and girls, no, male and female, just to see if it's representative. And in that case, as an outcome, what we are getting is the same amount of entries linked to boy and the same amount of entries linked to girl. So that means that we can continue, let's say, the analysis, because we can like infer some insights from, let's say, both genders, because we have enough representation on the same information about both of them. Okay. let's extract the timeline. So how many years do we have? So we have 2003, 4, 6, 12, 15, and 18. Okay. We don't have, I was not able to find any new data because of the pandemics and the COVID. So that was unfortunately let's say the last one or the most recent period. So what we are going to do is calculate, let's say, an average score regarding the value that each of the different boys and girls took in function of the different countries. And basically what I'm going to get is that information. So for each of the boys, for each of the subjects, so boys, different years, the value, the score that they are getting in terms of mean, in terms of all the countries that we have. Okay, so this is the information that we have. So let's transform it into a powerful plot, okay, in order to see the information. So this is what we are getting. So this is, again, another bar chart in which basically we have each of the different years, the score for each of the different subjects, okay? The mean scores considering all countries, okay? So we have, this is the information that we have. And okay, I'm asking you maybe one question or think about it. Do you think that that difference is kind of significant enough? The bars are kind of close to each other. We can see that maybe here there are some slightly differences, but here those differences are kind of small. So, but one way of calculating or assessing whether these differences are kind of significant is to calculate again a ratio. So subtract the mean score for the girls from the ones and divide it by the total. So if we are doing this mini ratio and getting some values close to 0, that means that 0 divided by something is always 0. So that means that both the scores, boys and girls, are kind of similar. And this is what I'm going to do here. And this is the outcome that I'm getting, okay? Different years and this difference, okay? So let's transform also these, let's say, values into one scatter plot, something a little bit like different, okay? And a different plot. And this is the outcome that we are getting. So what we are getting is for each of the different years, this is what we are getting. This is the difference on the mean scores between boys and girls. And what can you see? Maybe you can see it that it's like, okay, yeah, it's drastically decreasing, right? And also, yes, there is a difference. No, we can see that there is a difference between them. Watch out always with the graphics. Why? Can you see that here in terms of like the vertical axis, so our y-axis, we have the values that are ranging from 0.5 and up to 1.2. Okay, so those are like really relatively low values, but considering this specific formula, that means that we can get in terms of range something that goes from -100 up to 100. So what happens if we are rearranging the scale into the real scale that they should have? That goes from -100 up to 100. All the values are super close to 0. So that means that the differences between, let's say, this score between boys and girls is not significant. Okay, so this percentage is super small if we are comparing it with the big range. Of course, you can do a lot of statistical treatments and so on, but I'm not going to dive into it. I just want to show you the potential of showing the information in the super right way. So this was linked to maths. We can see that, of course, there is no difference between like boys and girls. Let's repeat the same procedure, but in that case, considering the science one. So I'm going to directly like show you, this is the mean scores as it is. Here you can see that, you know, the differences between boys and girls is kind of more stable, but let's calculate also this ratio again. And I'm going to show you also this information. This is without, let's say, getting the right scale on our axis. So if we are like zooming into the right scale, that's what we can see. Okay, that also in science, the difference is not significant. So linked to that, this is my last reflection or my last, let's say, conclusion or my last insight or the last insight. You know? So are we still sure that this gap that exists in there, it's a question of, let's say, we are not good at maths? According to those results that were like coming from different students, different pupils from, let's say, 15 years old, there are no differences between, you know, boys and girls. So that means that everybody, let's say, can, or everybody has the capabilities to study maths, programming, science, whatever. So are we still sure about about that. My suggestion, and I'm finishing, stop impostor syndrome and don't subestimate yourself. So if you want to do it, please. It doesn't matter your background and it doesn't matter how hard it will be. Do it, please. And that's basically all. I hope you like it. I hope you like it. And I don't know if somebody has a question, concern.
Yes.
I hope I'm on time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Idoia. You can stop sharing your screen.
Amazing. Cool.
Yeah, we have some questions. Thank you very much. It has been a super interesting conference. Thank you very much for that. It's super interesting to see through data the gender gap on the data sector. So it's super interesting. Thank you for that. The first question, do you think that gender gap in data is lower than in other modalities, such for example as web dev or
yes,
not?
I would say that. Because, for instance, when I was working, let's say, in different companies, not now, because I'm just working with women now, so in my company there is no gender gap, let's say. But in the previous one, yes, I would say that maybe, let's say, 30% women in the data field. But when it comes from engineering, data engineering or software development and so on, when I was working with those teams, I was able to see this percentage that was kind of super small compared to the one that we had in our data science, let's say, team. That's my personal opinion. Of course, it can change, no?
Sure.
From different point of views and so on, but I think so.
Sure. Thank you very much for your answer. We have another question. Do you consider deep learning to be valuable for day-to-day business, or it is more important to have a deeper understanding of machine learning, as deep learning is not common in most industries?
Absolutely, I agree with the second statement. So deep learning comes from machine learning. In fact, it's something advanced, let's say. Let's say it's like we are sophisticating deep learning. So deep learning, what is commonly used? Computer vision. So if you are planning to like open a startup that seeks to work with like photos, images, but also or also in NLP, it's pretty used, so natural language processing. Yes, go to the deep learning. But first of all, you need to have the basis of machine learning. You know, because it sounds pretty cool, that word, deep learning, neural network, blah, blah. It sounds really cool, but, you know, first of all, you must have the basis that it's machine learning. So it will depend on the case. It's more difficult. It takes more time in terms of executing. So that's another thing that you can like think about it. You know, if with one simple model you can do the same task, it's better, no? Because not only in terms of you working in the model, but also in terms of when deploying the model. When the model is going to be in a real application, it's going to take forever, and users don't like it to, you know, wait a lot of time there. So that will be my suggestion. Machine learning first, basis, and then if it's necessary, go to deep learning. But if it's not necessary, it sounds cool, and that's all. No, it's joking. It's super used in NLP and computer vision.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that answer. Another question. Wait, I'm trying to read them. Do you think that leadership could be taught? Because in fact, at All Women, you teach about data, about technical skills. But what about soft skills? Because there's a low presence of female in leadership positions, right? It could be taught?
I believe so. I mean, there is also always a question of like soft skills. That's something that, you know, you can learn, let's say, with a course and so on. And maybe there could be the case that some people doesn't have the soft skills for whatever reason, no? Because I don't know, they are shy, or they are not really empathic, or something like that. And that's one thing that, well, maybe you can like work on it with a professional. I would say a psychologist or a coach, no, something. But I believe I would say yes, of course.
Okay, great. Another question. As a woman, it has been hard for you to defend the woman position in the tech industry?
Yes.
Definitely, yes.
Especially like here at All Women, no, we have always the same, let's say, spam people that is like, but this is not inclusive, but you are discriminating, blah, 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 and so on, you know, and it's like, okay, this is not the point of All Women, you know. I wish All Women didn't exist, let's say, not because I don't love the company, because it will mean that we don't have to do anything there. But yes, there are a lot of like people that don't trust you sometimes because as a woman, because you are a woman, and you need to, show them a lot of things that maybe another of your colleagues that it's a man doesn't have to. Just because you're a woman and they don't trust you, or maybe we don't trust ourselves and we need to, do a lot of things. But yes, definitely yes.
Yeah. Sure, I agree with you, and I would also like to add that for me, the best future for the International FemHack is no future.
Yes.
In the sense that if we are doing that today, is to change things tomorrow. The best future for us would be to have no future. Unfortunately, I think it wouldn't be that easy.
Yeah, that's a pity.
I have another question, and I think it will be the last one. From your point of view, generally speaking, for sure, in the HR selection process, there are distinctions when dealing with women and men?
Well, I wouldn't say that 100%. At least in my personal case, I wouldn't say I didn't expect that feel, or that feeling. So I don't know exactly how people are like moving. One of the things that I was appreciating, just more looking at our students, is that there are a lot of like tech companies, luckily for us, that they are like right now encouraging and they really want to break this, let's say, this gender gap internally speaking. So I would say that now some companies are also considering, let's say, as something valuable, one resume or one profile that it comes from a female, of course, well prepared and all these things, of course. So that will be the only thing that I would add on this specific topic. But in my personal point of view, I didn't have anything. I had more some kind of, say, this thing or harassment and so on internally with some management and CEOs and people that are like really old school people, rather than people from human resources. In my personal experience, always.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, for sure. Well, thank you very much, Idoia. It has been a real pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for that interesting insight about the gender gap in data through data. I really appreciate it personally, and I think that everybody did. Thank you very much. You know, if you want to see the other conferences, you can join. You can join as a viewer. Thank you very much. See you soon. And thank you very much for all the work that you are doing to work against that gender gap. Thank you very much.
Amazing, my pleasure. If somebody wants to contact me because I don't know, wants to see more insights, get the code or whatever, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. And well, I will be really happy to connect and to expand my network and give some advices or whatever you need. Okay.
Sounds great. For the public, we will be back in 10 minutes with Ima Calvo. See you now.
Bye.
Bye bye.